What if I told you that the Methodist revival didn't begin in a pulpit? Not even in a famous sermon, not even in the face of crowds, but in a secret vow made by an unknown young man, alone before God. John Wesley made such a radical spiritual commitment while still young, which he never dared to announce publicly. It wasn't meant to impress people, it was about governing one's own soul. And that silent vow shaped his entire life. And years later, it helped transform an entire nation. Stay until the end of this video because you're about to find out, what was that vow? Why did Wesley keep it a secret? And what happens when someone decides to pray not out of habit, but out of commitment? If you're not already familiar with our channel, here we delve deeply into the true history of Christianity, not to idolize men, but to learn practical spiritual disciplines that shaped ordinary people into extraordinary instruments in God's hands. And today, we're going to delve into John Wesley's personal diary. Before John Wesley became the great leader of Methodism, before preaching to thousands outdoors, before being persecuted, ridiculed, and criticized, he was just a young student at Oxford. Intellectually brilliant, religiously disciplined, but spiritually restless. In his personal diaries, Wesley reveals something astonishing. He was afraid of wasting his spiritual life. Not afraid of hell, not afraid of death, but I'm afraid of living a shallow, mechanical, automatic faith. He writes repeatedly about his concern regarding empty prayers, superficial devotion, inconsistent discipline. It was in this context that voting emerged. The secret vow, not a vow of words, but of life. In their journals, Wesley documents a decision he made when he was young. Never allow a day to begin without deep and deliberate prayer. But this wasn't just about praying every day, it was something much more serious. Wesley decided that prayer would no longer be just another activity. It would be the central focus of his day. He made a personal vow before God that he would never begin a day without seeking God in deliberate, deep, and conscious prayer. This vow wasn't symbolic, it was practical. He began waking up consistently around 4 in the morning, not because it was easy, but because he had decided that God would receive the best of his day, not the leftovers. But there were certainly conflicts in John Wesley's life. Here's something almost no one talks about. John Wesley did not like waking up early every day. He had his limitations like any man. In his diaries, he repeatedly records extreme fatigue, long trips, illnesses, persecutions. Even so, prayer came first. He would wake up around 4 in the morning consistently to pray, read the scriptures, and examine his own heart. It wasn't mysticism, it was a spiritual discipline based on commitment. And here's the conflict. John Wesley realized that if he broke his vow during difficult times, he would never keep it during ordinary times. In his diaries, Wesley records several mornings when he woke up tired, sick, discouraged, or emotionally dry. Even so, he got up. He writes that he learned to pray even when he felt no pleasure, because faithfulness does not depend on feeling. Here's a crucial point. Wesley didn't pray to feel something. He prayed because he had made a promise. And this reveals something profound. The secret vow wasn't about prayer. It was about inner governance. Wesley was training his soul to obey before it felt. But this raises a crucial question. What exactly was Wesley doing in those prayers? Because it wasn't mechanical repetition. It was not an empty prayer. And it definitely wasn't emotionalism. Wesley had well-defined prayer practices in a daily structure to fulfill the secret vow of prayer, not to impress anyone, not to appear spiritual, but to truly encounter God. Wesley devoted an average of 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening to private and secret prayer, no matter what happened. Notice the word secret. Wesley wasn't trying to be seen by others. He wanted to find God away from the spotlight, in a secret place where no one would applaud his spirituality. He said, "I will pray aloud when I am alone, to engage not only my mind but also my body in prayer." This is revolutionary. Wesley realized that prayer that is too silent can cause our minds to wander. When you pray aloud, even alone, you stay focused. Your body participates in what your soul is doing. Various methods of prayer to keep my heart engaged: adoration, confession, intercession, supplication, and gratitude. He understood that prayer is not a fixed formula. It's a dynamic relationship. Some days you need to confess. Other days you need to worship. Other days you need to intercede. Variety keeps prayer alive. Keep a prayer journal where I will record specific requests and God's answers so I never forget His faithfulness. This changed everything for Wesley, because when you write down your prayers and the answers, you create a tangible record of God's faithfulness. On difficult days, you can go back and see, look how many times God answered before. He will answer again. Praying the scriptures, using God's own words as fuel for my prayers. Wesley realized that the best prayers are not the ones we invent, but the ones God has already given us. When you pray the Bible back to God, you pray with authority and confidence. I will fast twice a week until the hour of evening prayer, dedicating the time I would spend eating to seeking God's face. Fasting wasn't punishment, it was about focus. It was about saying, God, I want you more than I want comfort, more than I want convenience. According to his own records, Wesley's prayers had 4 pillars. 1. Honest confession. He was examining intentions, thoughts, motivations, hidden sins. Wesley believed that unconfessed sin hardens prayer. Wesley's prayers during this period were not long emotional outbursts. They were structured, examining, and often uncomfortable. He used prayer as a spiritual mirror. In his writings, he describes beginning his prayers with an examination of the heart. He asked himself what intentions were governing his actions, what thoughts had dominated his mind the previous day, and what sins had been tolerated. He believed that prayer without self-examination produces self-deception, conscious delivery. He repeated in prayer, Lord, govern my affections today. He didn't ask for success, he asked for inner guidance. After that, he consciously surrendered to God. He didn't ask for ministerial success, nor recognition, nor growth. He asked God to govern his affections, break his hidden pride, and order his desires. Disciplined intercession. He kept lists, specific people, churches, social causes, and spiritual leaders. Nothing was generic. Wesley maintained a disciplined intercession. He wrote down specific names, situations, causes, and people. He believed that vague prayer produces vague faith, revered silence. Wesley valued moments of absolute silence before God, because he believed that the soul needed to learn to be still in order to discern the divine voice. For him, prayer was not just speaking, but submitting, prayer without immediate results. Here is an extremely honest excerpt from the diaries. For years, Wesley prayed faithfully, but I felt no peace. He himself writes that he was zealous, had discipline, had biblical knowledge, but there was a lack of inner certainty about grace.
This brings us to a crucial point. Faithful prayer does not mean an immediate answer, and many would have given up here. Wesley didn't give up. The vote didn't produce instant emotion, but he prepared his heart for true revelation. But here, an important conflict arises. Despite all this discipline, Wesley records in his diaries that for years he did not feel inner peace. He himself admits that he prayed faithfully, but still did not fully understand grace. He had zeal, but no rest. He had discipline, but no certainty. This is fundamental to understanding the depth of the vote. Wesley's vow did not produce immediate results. He did not wake up spiritually transformed the next day. He did not feel a constant fire. He did not experience continuous ecstasy. He lived a life of silent faithfulness. And this is something that deeply confronts our generation. Wesley kept his vow even when it seemed like it wouldn't work, even when his soul was parched, even when his prayers seemed to hit rock bottom. And it was precisely this loyalty that paved the way for what would come next. On May 24, 1738, at a simple meeting on Aldersgate Street, Wesley heard Luther's preface to the Epistle to the Romans being read. At that moment, something happened within him. He writes in his diary, "I felt my heart strangely warmed. I felt that I trusted in Christ, Christ alone, for my salvation." This moment was no accident. It was the breaking point of years of secretive loyalty. The vote did not create revival. It prepared the heart to receive it. After that, Wesley's public life exploded. He began preaching outdoors, faced fierce opposition, traveled across England on horseback, preached tens of thousands of sermons, organized societies, classes, and banks, and maintained discipline until the end of his life. But here's the key point. He never abandoned the vote. Even at 80 years old, Wesley continued to wake up early to pray. Even when sick, even when tired, even when famous, he maintained a faithfulness that no one saw. The secret ballot sustained public life. After that, everything changes. Wesley begins to preach with authority, to face persecution without bitterness, to maintain discipline even under pressure, to lead movements without losing personal devotion. The secret ballot held. Wesley preached 40,000 sermons. 40,000! That means he preached, on average, 2 sermons a day for 50 years. He traveled over 400,000 kilometers on horseback, the equivalent of circling the earth 10 times, spreading the gospel. He founded the Methodist movement, which today has more than 80 million followers around the world. He wrote more than 200 books and pamphlets. He started hospitals, schools, orphanages, and social movements that transformed England. But here's the secret everyone misses. None of this would have happened without that secret vow of prayer he made at age 22. Wesley's public power came from his private life with God. In his diary, at age 87, a few months before his death, Wesley wrote, "I have more vigor now than I had at 30. I do not tire of preaching, writing, or traveling." What is the secret? For 60 years, I have never lost an hour of sleep. I rise at 4 a.m. and go to bed at 10 p.m. And for 50 years, I have spent at least 2 hours a day in secret prayer. That is the source of everything. Do you realize what he's saying? 50 years, 2 hours a day. That's over 36,000 hours in prayer. If you worked 8 hours a day, it would take you 12 years to accumulate that time. Wesley invested 12 whole years of his life in prayer, and because of that, he changed the world. The public saw the fire. God saw the faithfulness. This brings us to the most important spiritual lesson of this video. God does not entrust great things to those who only seek Him when they feel like it. God forms men and women in secret before using them in public. Private commitments shape public destinies.
God does not entrust great things to those who, only when He feels, only when needed, only when there's spare time. Wesley understood early on that prayer is not a reaction, it's a commitment. Bringing you a practical application and your vote. Now be honest with yourself. Does your prayer life depend on your mood? Do you pray more during crises than on ordinary days? Is there any real spiritual commitment governing your routine? You don't need to copy Wesley, but you do need to decide. You don't need to wake up at 4 in the morning, but you do need to decide when God enters your day. Make a simple but real commitment. Choose a fixed time. Protect that time. Pray even when you feel nothing. Examine your heart. Be honest before God. Remain faithful for months, not days. Prayer doesn't transform because it's intense. It transforms because it's constant. Now I want you to think seriously about this. If John Wesley, 300 years ago, without electricity, without comfort, without modern conveniences, managed to keep a vow of prayer for decades, what is his real excuse?
Do you have more spiritual knowledge or more spiritual commitment? Practical challenge. Decision 1. Establish a fixed daily time for prayer. Decision 2. Make a commitment before God. Decision 3. Protect this time as something sacred. Decision 4. Pray even when you feel nothing. Decision 5. Evaluate your loyalty monthly, not out of guilt, but for love. Now answer honestly. If Wesley, 300 years ago, without comfort and modern conveniences, kept a vow of prayer, what is his real excuse? Is your spiritual life governed by compromise or by convenience? What would change if you made a secret vow before God today? These answers matter because private decisions shape public futures. If this video resonated with you, write in the comments, "I'm going to make a secret vow." This is not marketing. It is a public commitment that strengthens private decisions. You need to position yourself in a life of prayer with a specific direction. Want to receive more content like this? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because here we don't produce religious entertainment, but profound content about the faith that truly changed the world. May God find you in secret, just as John Wesley found it. See you in the next video. Top of form.